Hi, I'm Stephanie and this is my home, the 16th century Chateau de Lalande. Lalande was owned for hundreds of years by a family of marquises who were at the heart of French royal life. One of them even had the honour of being sent by King Louis XV to greet Marie Antoinette on her arrival in France. But, far from being a stuffy museum, this chateau is a living home. I live here all the time and am regularly joined by my mother, my family, my friends, and wonderful volunteers from all over the world who help me to lovingly restore this historic home. Welcome to Lalande, a chateau filled with life, love, and laughter.
Hello, welcome to the Chateau de Lalande's walled vegetable garden. As I've been showing you inside the chateau for the last few weeks, I thought it would be nice to show you outside, especially as it's such a beautiful day. So follow me through this red door. Now I really need to find my mother to show you around this garden because she's the expert here. I am not particularly green-fingered. I just have to get her off the mower. Isn't that the most adorable sight in the world? Look at her hat! Yes, she's seen us! Another classic gardening outfit today from you, if I may say so, Mummy.
I thought it was rather fetching. My realm is being totally neglected because I haven't got the strength.
Mummy, it is obvious that this is not neglected. I will just show everybody the tidiness of the beds here. Absolutely incredible.
I now have a puncture on my mower. Would you believe it? But look at the beds over there.
Yes, well, there's still work to do at this end.
Very bad they are.
We'll get to those in a moment and explain why they're not done yet.
And look at this wonderful feature.
The wilderness, we call it the Lalande wilderness. Why don't we start with the greenhouse?
Okay.
The greenhouse and the entire walled garden date from the mid-19th century. And I love this greenhouse, but we have had to do a great deal of work on it. So I'm not involved in the actual gardening, but I have been involved very much with the restoration of the greenhouse. We have re-roofed it completely and changed all of the windows along the front. And we came up with a bit of an ingenious plan because these are actually very heavy to lift. This is the original system, like this, which is great, but it was very, very hard for my mother to lift them. And I was worried that it could be quite dangerous as well. So I asked our friend Ian, the builder, if he thought it would be possible to use hydraulics to make it easier. And we've just used the car boot openers and it's worked really well. So in fact, it's not as easy to close, but to open, simple. So that makes me very happy. And we've done that with every other window going all the way along. And you can see that's why my mother's opened those windows and not the others.
This is a greenhouse and it is beautiful. It was actually totally refurbished by my daughter and volunteers last year when it was being filmed for Escape to the Chateau DIY. And I wasn't here. And the surprise was for me when I came back and it was unveiled during that program. So it was so wonderful and I made a point of honor to keep it as clean and yes, as clean as possible. And I'm very happy with it. This is where I spend my time.
So what is there in here? Show me around, Mummy.
What isn't there might be the simplest thing. There are cuttings, there are saved plants I found around the chateau ground. There are beans begging to go out, but we are expecting a bit of cold weather on the 11th. I don't know if it's true. I can't take a chance. Flowers, maize. Those tools are the very things that used to be in the chateau. They haven't changed. They left them behind, and here they are, a lot of them. Now this is a fantastic tool that Selma did for me because such hard work. I actually broke the handle. So we changed the handle and look at this. It is as easy as this. Well, nearly. So Selma made those and he's such a clever chap. he actually saw the old Christmas tree which had been thrown out, and he made that out of the trunk. Because Stephanie had decided not to have one Christmas tree, oh no, but she had about 4 or 5, a forest of Christmas trees. And Selma put some to good use. So, what else can I show you? All the pots which were left in the chateau, well, in the greenhouse. And so look at them, how beautiful they are. They are absolutely, some are handmade, and some darling, darling little pots. You know, look at this little darling pot, the size of it. There we go. And we have all sorts of, I have water, wash my hands. Everything is ready for me to keep a certain amount of cleanliness.
Is that your soap?
Yes.
Your soap and oh.
Yes, there is soap here. And I've even got a candle which I haven't yet used because I haven't spent the night here.
Not yet.
And cream for the hand as well. So I am well set up here. We have hundreds of tomatoes.
Yes, Mummy, do you think you've overdone it?
No, I haven't overdone it. They grew by themselves. And you see, I didn't know they were going to be there.
They reseeded from
They
last year.
reseeded from last year. So I have told people I have things to give as soon as they can move and they can come and get them.
We're going to have hundreds of tomatoes.
I'm afraid so, yes.
Oh, don't be afraid. I know, Mummy, we could buy one of those dryers and make sun-dried tomatoes.
Oh, that would be good.
Ooh, my favourite.
But look, the radish.
Oh, I didn't expect that to come out from under a tomato.
They are companion planting at its best. And look at this. I have a little mouse in here. Every radish is tested. Absolutely, all of them. They're all tested.
So they just took a little bit of each radish?
Yes, yes, yes. Perhaps it's a family of mice. Here I have some basil, trying to get catch a bit of sun. Basil and tomatoes are very happy together. Oh, and here, joy, oh joy. You know, I got some beautiful tomatoes from America.
They're all coming up.
The grape, the Brad's atomic grape, are indeed doing their
Look at
bit.
that.
Look at them. The atomic grape, aren't they lovely?
Beautiful.
And the pink jazz, that's the pink one. Look at that.
It's going to be wonderful.
So I'm so excited. They're there to remind myself that I must care for them.
Oh, I love your little glove station.
Yes, has everybody noticed that one ends up with a lot of left-handed gloves? The right one being totally worn out and without tops for the fingers. Yes, that's a bit like this.
Do you use the mirror a lot, Mummy?
Of course. My God, what do I look like?
You look adorable as
Oh,
always.
darling, let's take that off. Oh, actually, it's quite hot to have a hat.
I bet.
Oh, that's wonderful. And you know, I received this ribbon and I love it. It holds on to my hat when there is either speed on my tractor or wind. So, that's lovely. Oh dear, what a sight. The thing I have overlooked is a comb in here or a brush.
And
But
if you ask me,
I wasn't expecting
a
visitors.
kettle and an armchair.
I love every minute I spend here. Ah.
I like the fact that you have paintings of flowers on the walls of the greenhouse.
Yes.
I think people
It's
don't do that enough.
It is an inspiration, isn't it? Yes. And these are like pictures to me, all those beautiful seeds, which I have received in dribs and drabs, and some of them are so old. I think this is interesting, this box. It looks like an ammunition
I think it
box.
is an ammunition box.
Yes. Yes, it's very good. One never knows what one is going to need ammunition for in a garden.
When all of the lovely volunteers were clearing this out as a surprise for you last summer,
Yes.
they kept everything that could possibly be reused. So we didn't buy anything for the
No.
greenhouse. We just found things that we had around the place, and they found the ammunition box and used it for the seeds.
All sorts of weird and wonderful things.
Oh, I like this.
Yes.
This was from our home back in England, wasn't it?
Indeed it is, yes.
She follows us around.
Yeah. She's lovely. Underneath there are all sorts of storage for pots, plastic pots, less decorative pots and trays. So I'm really nicely set up here. Do you remember the Yorkshire Terrier kept telling me it was time to go in, time to go in. And I was telling him just a little longer. And he disappeared and he went to your bedroom.
Yes, he barked. It was like Lassie. He was just trying to get me to come out to get you in.
And you did.
Yes, it worked.
You got out of bed and you did. And he led you here.
Yes, he led me to you
And
to
he
bring
was
you in.
so pleased with himself, looking at me. I told you I would take strong action. Oh, I adored him. Oh, dear. This is it.
What else can you show us in your garden?
The idea is to replicate this side there.
Yes.
It's so easily said, isn't it?
Yes. But you have to dream, Mummy, otherwise dreams don't come true. Think about what it looked like when we bought. This was a field. Already a lot has happened.
Well, we try to put structure by putting the beds there,
Yes.
the 4 beds.
And all of these beds with all of the
Yes,
wood around, that was us.
all those
and
things.
the arches.
We're having more done to go on the other side. And on the arches I have planted, I hope it will be okay, the long beans I received from America.
Wonderful. And they're red, aren't they?
They're red. So I have a vision of the beans just going in like that. It would be absolutely lovely. This is horseradish and it is extremely invasive.
I love horseradish though, so we don't mind a bit of an invasion.
Well, I do mind because it's so difficult to dig. But so I have horseradish, I have shallots, I have beetroots, different colored beetroots here.
Chives as well, I see.
And on this side,
Lemon balm, very delicious as a tisane. Just putting a couple of branches of that in hot water is wonderful.
yes, yes,
That's a lot of tea.
it is. Garlic, here, onions, white onions, different onions, yellow onions. We have something growing. Leeks. That's not a leek.
No, the tiny, tiny little ones are leeks. I can see them.
You can, I
Oh
can't.
gosh, they're minuscule.
Oh,
That's
there, I can see them here.
And the marjoram.
Smell it, you'll see how delicious it is.
Oh, that is wonderful.
Here we have, in an old bed of asparagus which disappeared, I have planted some beans, thin beans, you know, French beans. I cleared the poor lavender yesterday, but I didn't finish, as you can see.
Yes.
The sage is extremely invasive.
Yes, but it's wonderful. It looks pretty and it's delicious.
Well, it's okay. We could have an alley of sage somewhere.
I'd
but
love that.
But
yes.
we could. But right here, I would like to have some lavender. Again, the old asparagus bed, which I'm using. I will plant things in it. And
To replant asparagus because this is 15 years old, this bed.
yeah, but it's still doing something, isn't it? Here we've got the black radish from America too, purple plum,
And that's all coming
and it's coming. Can you see?
Yes, I can see
Can
it.
you see? Yes, excellent. I have planted, don't know what. I tend to forget where I put what. Oh, peas, 10 years old. I'm not expecting much movement here. And the fruit bushes, look at the red currants. Actually, these bushes half red, half white.
Oh, that's going
Currants?
to be fun.
Yes, and look, they're forming very nicely. This one is a red one, red currant, and this one is a gooseberry.
I love gooseberries.
Yes, we always get a lot of red currants on this one.
This is a wonderful one.
The peacock and I.
Share and share alike, Mummy. This is my favourite gooseberry bush in the garden. You can't tell yet, but they're slightly pinkish gooseberries and very, very large, and they are delicious.
Yes, they are.
It looks as though we're going to have lots.
Raspberries. The whole wall was covered in raspberries, but an enthusiastic gardener
Yes.
cut them all up.
That was awful.
And he did such a good job, because usually they will shoot again from the ground.
Yes.
He took everything
Oh
out.
dear.
But look, we've got babies here.
Oh, did they reseed?
Yeah, no, it's runners under the ground. So it is feeding off the mother plant.
Yes.
So all I have to do is to put a spade there, break it off the mother plant and put it where I want it. And this in turn will become a mother plant and making shoots like this.
Wonderful.
If you have one raspberry, you can have 100 raspberries.
Well, that's very good news.
It is good news, because I would like to reintroduce them against the wall. They
Yes.
were happy there.
I love
Because
good-
the garden has been extremely well designed. There is a very slight slope going from there to there. Hence, the water, when it rains, tends to go to the bottom over there. The whole garden used to be cultivated with the previous owners, but they had 3 full-time gardeners, and I can understand why. Plus, the farmers from the 5 farms around, so big jobs needing doing with a tractor could be done like that. And they had endless supply of manure. So, yes, life was good. And this is thornless blackcurrant. It's very nice.
Isn't it wonderful to see everything in flower? I bought all of these fruit bushes last year. They've done well.
Yes. And here we've got our rhubarb. I'm only forcing 2 of them, the third one not to tar them at the same time.
I think I'd like to cook some rhubarb soon. I love rhubarb.
Absolutely. Absolutely, sweetheart. Part of the garden design included 2 wells. One in the corner you can barely see, and this one. The water comes from a huge reservoir behind those tall trees over there. And gravity feeds it, and it comes here. It used to supply the whole chateau, because that reservoir is being fed by a spring. So we have free water here. I can show you this, but there is nothing to see really. This one always has water in it. This one doesn't. It has been adapted to pipes, taps.
Yes.
While that one, you have to get it out with a bucket.
Right.
But it never dries. So that is a wonderful thing to have. When I arrived at the chateau, I found plenty of seed potatoes waiting to be planted. And that's it. I planted them.
Gosh, we're going to have a lot of potatoes.
We don't normally have potatoes, planting potatoes.
And what type are they?
Oh, they are purple ones.
Gosh, wonderful.
And lovely, I think they're Charlotte actually, which are rather delicious. And that is a thing you absolutely love.
Yes, fennel. It's gone everywhere, but I do love it.
Look at it.
So these are the last 4 beds still to be done for the year, other than the new ones that will be created.
Yes.
My mother has not stopped. She's done all of the other beds in the garden. It's incredible.
More fennel. When you have 1 fennel, you will have everything fennel.
Just 1 artichoke in the middle.
It's desperately trying to survive. I love artichokes, and I would have wanted more artichokes. Here we've got the chard. And some little strawberries I have rescued from beds that have been cleaned.
I ordered the strawberry plants that you asked for.
Great! Oh, I'm delighted. Oh, cool. We probably won't gather them this year, but next year, if we keep the bed clean, that will be wonderful.
Oh, good.
I just love strawberries. We're about to get plenty of wild ones. They're all in flowers there.
Oh, let's have a look.
I usually am the one who eats them.
Ah, yeah.
This is the wild strawberries. They have such a delicious, delicious taste.
And
so
you
strong.
have them all for yourself
Well,
out here.
they don't travel very well.
No, not between here and the
No,
kitchen.
they do not. So rather than waste them, would you like to look at them? There isn't much to see in the shed. It's a bit of a mess.
Lots of sticks I see. We're very rich in sticks.
I'm going to be very rich in tomatoes. I need sticks.
But maybe the loveliest thing here is hearing the birds. Speaking of which, let's go and visit our chickens. There we have the cockerel, weirdly called Catwoman, and Myrtle the chicken. They live inside that lovely stone building, and this is their run. We have two other cockerels who roam about freely, and we had to separate them and put these two here because with 3 cockerels to 1 chicken, Myrtle was having a pretty miserable time. But she's happy now. They are half Cotswold Legbar, half local chicken, and Myrtle lays blue eggs. It's gorgeous. Blue shells just like a duck. The cuckoos decided to join us. And this pear tree is covered in tiny pears already.
I planted these grapes about 2 years ago, and I can see the grapillons. Look at that.
It's covered, Mummy. It's absolutely
Look.
covered.
Yes.
Look.
Usually it's a battle between us having them and the insects. The wasps just love them. I'll have to arrange that a bit better. Like that. This is an old one.
Oh yes, these vines were here when we bought.
They were. We had to cut them down, and I cut them down a bit too late. But so I won't probably have any grape. It doesn't matter.
You will have some grapes, Mummy. Microscopic still, but they're there, tiny, tiny bunches of grapes. Just lovely.
Look, there is one of last year's there. A dried grape. Oh well, would that constitute as raisins?
Lalande raisins.
Yes.
They don't look all that appetising.
And you know, this patch which I try not to cut,
Yes.
it was in the chateau. It has survived the previous owners.
This is the sorrel patch.
It is, yes. And from there, we have had the other sorrel patch.
So
but
you
this
keep
is the
going around
yes.
it, so that we can keep some history of the vegetable garden that would have been here 60 or 70 years ago.
Yes.
That was its sorrel.
And it comes back faithfully every year.
When we bought the chateau, this entire walled garden was just one big field and it wasn't being cultivated at all. And we split it into 3 sections. The first section we've just looked at, it's really my mother's realm and it's the vegetable garden. The second section we haven't done that much with yet, but Nicholas designed these 4 box hedging beds for roses, and in the middle one day we will put a fountain. I actually have the fountain already, which my father bought for me. We're storing it in an outbuilding, and it's a lovely marble fountain. So one day that will go there, and then the third part is the fruit orchard. But here we've just planted lots of rose beds. It's still too early in the season for our roses, unfortunately, but soon we will be having some, and they're a mix of all different colours. I got actually a job lot of about 100 rose bushes with no idea what colours they were. They were just a mixture, and we put them in, and so every year it's a slight surprise what we get. There are some buds starting. That is very exciting to see. I spoke too soon, Mummy. We have a rose.
Oh my goodness.
Look, one.
Which out is it?
It's one.
Oh yes.
Beautiful one. Most of the rose bushes here are new. They were planted only the year before last. But this rose bush, obviously, we planted when we first arrived. So it's huge now. And it's covered in buds. And the idea is that whilst this is beautiful, it's not a garden just to come and sit in. It's actually a very useful garden for cut flowers for the chateau. This entire walled garden is to provide the chateau with what it needs. And when we finally make the final 8 beds in the wasteland, they will be entirely planted with cut flowers for the house as well.
The idea is to have these 8 beds here replicated there.
Well, I hope we find the gardener soon and get those beds done ASAP, because I've ordered 300 dahlia plants for cut flowers.
Well, it will be absolutely wonderful when they're planted and grow happily. But in the meantime, we need a gardener to do that.
Yes, and to put them somewhere.
Yeah.
And the entire cut flower area of the garden is edged on one side by old apple and pear trees that were here when we first bought, and they're covered in blossom. And our Pierre de Ronsard roses against the wall are just starting to open. I think that these are my favourite roses. The final part of the garden is the fruit orchard. We're not going to go in right now because the grass is ridiculously high, and our mower is not powerful enough to tackle grass that high.
Until we have a machine which can tackle this height of the grass, we can tackle it.
There is another orchard at Lalande which we can go and have a look at. It's just along the road, and that's where we have the hives of the local beekeeper. He keeps his bees here and gives us 10 kilos of honey every year in return, which is just glorious. But those fruit trees were very, very old and already not producing when we arrived, so we realised we needed a new orchard, which we planted here. The elusive Nick made a beautiful plan, and we planted all sorts of different fruit trees. Most of them haven't made it, and that was my fault, because once we had this area arranged all neatly, I thought it would be wonderful to have our sheep there to keep the grass down. But the trees were very young, and I didn't realise that naughty Aloysius, our very naughty ram, would ring bark every single tree just for fun, and we lost most of those the year that he was there. But some have become very big. There's the huge cherry tree there, and there's a quince tree in the corner, and several fig trees that are still producing every year. But one of our next big projects in the garden is to replant in the orchard, which I'm very much looking forward to, because it's a beautiful place to sit, and I would like a lot more cherry trees so that we can have an area to enjoy cherry blossom once a year. And I couldn't end a video about all of the produce that we create for use in the chateau without showing you the hives. Now we're walking out of the main gates of the chateau, and along this little country lane we own this field, and the little field behind it which we'll be going into, that's where the hives are. It's the ancient orchard of the chateau. Well, this is a lovely excuse for a walk on a beautiful day.
We're escaping.
Yes, but we have to be careful not to get stung.
No, well, we can't go any further than 100 kilometers.
Oh, 100 kilometers
Yes.
from the bees.
So we better be careful.
We've actually just employed somebody to take down these 3 huge dead pine trees, because they're just a menace now, and that will be done this month, which is exciting.
They could fall on the road, it's dangerous.
And just next to them is the entrance to the little field.
We're so lucky.
We are lucky, we really are.
Yes, I wish everybody was enjoying life as we can enjoy it here.
If any of you watched my advent calendar vlogs in December, you will have seen Michael Petherick, Marie and I come here to get a lot of mistletoe, because the trees here are covered in mistletoe in December. It's a real heaven. But then the bees are sleeping, and they're not asleep now. There we are. I'm not going to get too close. And there's a lot more around the corner. I'll see if I can show you those. And just before we leave the old orchard, I'd like to show you the honey that they make. This is the honey from our bees, made by the local beekeeper, and it's called honey of wild flowers, wildflower honey. And goodness knows our bees have a lot of choice. And we get 10 kilos of this a year. That's the amount that we get for letting the bees be here. And it's wonderful for the bees, it's wonderful for the beekeeper, and it's wonderful for us and for our flowers and for the planet. So everyone's a winner here.
You see those little pink ones?
Yes?
As a child, you would pull some of it and suck it.
Really?
Very sweet.
I guess you didn't have many sweets where you grew up.
No, It was wartime.
Let me try. Thank you. That's delicious.
The bees would like those, you see.
I'm not surprised, I like those. And now, home in time for an aperitif with Nick, Marie, Antoine and Selma. I hope you enjoyed discovering our walled garden and seeing where all of the cut flowers and vegetables and even the honey that we use in the kitchen at Lalande come from. Next week, I'll carry on showing you more of the secrets of the Chateau de Lalande, and I'll see you then. A huge thank you to all of our patrons at Lalande who are making this vlog possible, especially our Marquise and Marquise of Lalande, Alice, Allen, Daniela, Dan Banda, Danelle Benakovich, Veronica Castillo, Laura Demare, Caroline Foster, Brenda Gibbons, Brenda Harris, Laure Hawke, Jimmy Kemp, JC O'Ward, Maureen Palmer, Bettina Rojek, Sven Schreiber, Patty Suhu, Colleen Troyer, Brian Woodward and David Young. And thank you to all of you.